Hey guys, it's me, Michelle from Glitz to Glam Glitter and Crafts. I'm going to be changing my name to Purely Customs very soon, so you will see that. Please don't forget about me. Don't forget who I am. Please don't. So I'll be switching over to Purely Customs soon. I just need to get my logo and everything together. But anyways, this video is not about that. This video today is about another tutorial that I'm going to drop, or that I'm dropping now. See, that's why I said I need a script when I do this. Anyways, so what we're going to be doing today is making custom dominoes, and I already have these finished. I'm going to be showing you how to make them. So the ones that we're going to make today, because I don't like basic, so you can always do them with just like the dots on the front and like a logo on the top part. But these today is going to be with the field, the football field on the front, if you can see it, hopefully. Football field on the front, and then the logo on the back. So let's get into it. I got a full detailed video for you. I know I talk too much, so what? Anyways, if you want to learn, that's how it is with me. I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, all the tips, all the tricks, all the mistakes that can be made, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I will see you guys at the end of this video. So hopefully this helps somebody, and always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Turn your alerts on because I will be dropping tutorials. All right, let's get into these dominoes. Let's go. Okay, so first things first, you want to know how deep your mold actually is. Now, how I do this is I take some water. I didn't get any water. Oh wait, so I have some distilled water, but whatever. I'm not using it for the dominoes. But you want to measure and make sure you know how deep your mold actually is. So, and this is for single color purposes only. So I'm getting this out of the way now because the type of dominoes I'm actually going to make right now is going to have like a picture at the bottom. So on the front where the dots are, and then it's going to have a picture at the top. So for single color purposes only, you want to know how deep your mold is, because once you mix your epoxy, you don't want to over mix epoxy because nobody likes to waste that because it's so expensive. So you want to make sure you have the right amount of epoxy to actually use for your mold. Now, so when you measure it, that's what, did I say this already? That's what you want to measure out for your, your epoxy. So take a syringe, get some water. And then what we're going to do is you're literally just going to fill the syringe up to a readable line. So this one is just a 3 milliliter syringe, which is fine. So I'm doing that because this is a different mold. The mold that I'm used to using, I'm not going to use it today. I actually like how these look. The front of them are shiny. Oh, I love it. And I got these from Amazon, and they're linked in my description, okay? So you're just going to fill up one of your domino things. And you know what? This is that's too little for me because it's going to take all day. I know I got a bigger syringe around here. I just know it. I had some bigger ones at one point in my life, and I think I got rid of them because I sell these as little syringes for the snow globe. So I don't have any of the big ones. So anyways, okay, so now I got to count. So give me a second. So that's 3, 6, 9, okay, so it's 12. That's 12 milliliters. Now, once you measure that, you times the 12 or however much yours is, the depth of it, times the dominoes. How many dominoes there are. So this is 12 times 28, okay? Now wait a minute, damn it. We're going to old school it. 12 times 28. This is 16, 8, 9, 10, 0, 4, 2, 6. What is that? 6, 4, 3. So that's 346 milliliters, okay? So this is for me. So if I were doing a single one, it's 346 milliliters. Now, I have these cups that I got from Amazon, and they are very helpful when you're making dominoes because they're big and you don't have to worry about, measuring everything out. So, and it shows you in milliliters and ounces, okay? So these cups that I got from Amazon, I will have them linked in my, I will have them listed in my Amazon store also, okay? And so like this one right here, it says, like this one, I don't know if you can tell, but it goes up to 240 milliliters. And so like I said, if I was only doing one single color, which I'm not today, it would be 346. So you would need 1 cup of this and another. So if you were doing so if you were doing a single color domino, you're gonna put something at the top, I wouldn't do the whole full 346 milliliters. I would probably only do like 320, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna put the image on top of that after that sets and it gets hard, and then you're gonna do that last layer pour, so that way none of the image, you can't just peel it off. I hope that made sense. Sometimes I feel like I need a script. So in this case, what we're doing is we are going to, to achieve that look with the picture on the front side where the holes are, where the dots are, we need to add a layer of epoxy first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out how much I'm going to use for this. So you don't want to do it too thick. You don't want to do too much. It does not need to be a big old thick layer, okay? So what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to switch my camera around in a little bit so you guys can see how much liquid I'm working with, okay? Or how much epoxy I'm going to be working with, so you guys can get the whole full view. So, see, I don't know this mode, so I got to measure right now. Okay, so if my base is 346, where I put that paper at? If my base is 346, okay, I got to keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to draw up 3 milliliters of water to see if that's a good amount to cover the ridges of the dots. So that's where you want your epoxy to lay. You want that epoxy to lay right above that top ridge of the dot. And you want to do that because once that hardens a bit and you put that first photo layer on there, you want it to be to where when you flip it over, that hole where the dot is, you don't want to be able to feel the paper. So that's why you need to go just a teensy little bit above that hump of the dot, okay? So that was 3 milliliters. And then so that's actually cool. That's cool. So I'm probably, for this mode, I'm probably gonna do 6 milliliters in each domino mode. Yeah, that'll be perfect because I just put one in. Let me see. Actually, I can get away with 5 milliliters because I don't want it to be too high because I still need to put 2 more layers of epoxy. All right, so I'm going to do 5 milliliters. So 5 times, so whatever you find, whatever your point, whatever you measure out to fill over that hump of the domino dots, you need to multiply that. So mine is going to be 5 milliliters per little domino. Okay, so that's going to be 28 times 5. 5 times 8 is 40. 4, 10, 14. So I'm going to need about 140. Hey, I'm going to need about 140 milliliters of epoxy to do this. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing while I'm explaining everything. So everything makes sense, because I know that doesn't even make any sense right now. So let me flip this camera around real quick and then we're going to get started. So before we actually do this, go ahead and like get your epoxy ready. So I'm going to get my epoxy ready right now. So by the time I'm done mixing, and explaining this to you guys, I'm ready to pour. Now, I'm going to use fast set epoxy because I need to make sure I got fast set epoxy. I do not. So I'm going to be using regular epoxy, and this is going to be a long process, and it's going to take about 2 days to do. So we're going to get our epoxy ready. So I'm going to mix up about 140 milliliters. So 140 divided by 2, I'm going to need 70 milliliters of part A, 70 milliliters of part B. Okay. Okay, so the epoxy that I use is from Resin. I swear by this epoxy. It is probably like the best epoxy I've ever used. It works for my temperature in California. Hey, it works for my temperature in California. So I don't have any issues with this one. I'm not sure what area you guys are in and what works for you. And I'm not using that one because something is in it. So you know what? And I was lying. I did not get these from no Amazon. You can get some from Amazon, but I got these from Michael's because I remember it was later in the day and I needed them right then, and I ran out to Michael's to get them, and they were not cheap. You get a pack though, but I'll put it in the description. I don't remember how much it was. So anyways, we're gonna do 70 milliliters of part A, 70 milliliters of part B. And I will always tell you to wear a mask when you're doing this. The type of mask that is preferred is one of these. I recommend one of these because I don't like the smell of epoxy, and it makes me feel a little weird. So I recommend this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and measure out my 70 milliliters for part A and part B. I'm going to mix it together, and then I'm going to turn the camera around, okay? Okay, now we are here. So we have mixed up our epoxy, and as you can see, there is bubbles. So while we're waiting for those bubbles to kind of come to the top, I'm going to pop them with a heat gun, just so it won't be too many bubbles. But honestly, it really doesn't even matter. That's why I like cast resin so much, because the bubbles can actually be popped. So you won't have that. So this part you are definitely going to need to know, and you are gonna have to measure this. So you want to have one of these little measuring tapes, the flexible kind. I don't know what they're called. I'm sorry, you guys. I know I'm awful with that. I'm always buying stuff and don't even know what I'm buying. Anyways, you want to use one of these to measure the inside of your mold, so that way you can make your pictures the correct size. So I don't know this mold like that. So like I said, I'm used to a different mold, so I am going to have to measure this one. So how I measure my other one, is I went to the 0 domino where it doesn't have all those, you know, little dots in there. And I literally just placed it right in to see what my measurements would be. So this is about 1 inches. 1 inch, I'm sorry. This is about 1 inch, so it's 1 by, let me go this way. 1 by like 2. Now, I'm not going to measure my picture 2 by 1. I'm not going to do that. I'm probably going to go to 1.9 by 0.9. So that way it leaves a little bit of room for me to be able to, you know, put it actually in there and it'll fit nice and snug. So since we have that measurement together, I'm still going to let this do its thing. So since the bubbles are pretty much going away, I'm going to go ahead and take my heat gun, and then I'm just going to pop the rest of them at the top, and I'm going to start filling these in. You know, the easier way for me to do this would be to show you guys the way with the syringe. So that way you get this down. I'm an eyeballer, so I can probably eyeball this and not have any issues. But for video purposes, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to show you guys how to get the correct measurements inside of each domino mold, okay? So since I said I'm going to be doing 0.5, I'm going, so my syringe goes to 3 milliliters. So I'm going to draw up 3, and then I'm going to draw up 2, of course. And then I'm going to fill each and every one of these molds, okay? So I'm going to do that really quick. So let me pop these bubbles really quick with my heat gun, and then we'll do that. This is the heat gun that I have. It is from Michaels. It's the Recollections brand. I absolutely love it. So since we're going to be doing just a thin layer, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really worried about the bubbles because I can spray some spritz over it and then it'll pop it. So let's go ahead and measure this out. So okay, here's 3. Just going to add that in here, and I'm just going to go up and down like this so it covers everything. So I'm going to bring out 2 more milliliters. Actually, oh no, that's right. Okay. I was like, wait a minute now. So you're going to do this through the whole thing. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys seen what I did down here because I ran out of epoxy. So what I did was, because I was getting a little antsy and too much anxiety with using the syringe, so I had to just go ahead and pour it. So if you notice that you don't have enough epoxy left over, it's not that, it's just that they're not all even, and some of them have more in it than the other. So all you have to do is take your syringe, draw out of another one, and then just put it in one of the empty ones. And as you can see, I have enough. So, I'll let you guys know how it is not throwing this away. I've never not threw it away. I've always just thrown it away, but I'm not sure if I can reuse it or not. So right now it looks ridiculous because there's air bubbles, but I promise you, you will not see these air bubbles in the end. So with KS resin, what I usually do is I kind of let it sit for a little bit. Well, before I let it sit, I take some alcohol. So I have 100% alcohol in here. So what I do is I just spritz it to pop the bubbles. And then you'll see them go away, and you'll start to notice that there's no bubbles. It'll just be clear. So I let that sit for a little bit, maybe like an hour or two. Then I come back and look at it, see if there's any more, see if there's any more bubbles on the top, at the top of the surface. And then I go in with more alcohol, spritz it, and then I let it sit. I let it sit for a good 12 hours. You want to make sure, or actually, you know what, this is going to vary by location, because like I said, I'm in California. It's pretty hot out here. So my epoxy tends to get tacky probably at like the 7th or 8th hour. So you kind of want to do this like in the morning, so that way you can watch it during the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and check this and make sure it's tacky, because that's when you're going to add your photo in there. That's when I add it. I don't add it when it's too hard and it's not sticky enough. I add mine when it's just like I can tap it and no epoxy comes up with my finger. It's just like a tacky method. So I'm sorry, not a tacky method, a tacky feel. So we're going to let this sit, and then we're going to go over to the computer, and I'm going to show you how to do the cutouts for the actual photo. So as you can see, it's very like minimal air bubbles in there. It's not really too much. So those will go ahead and come to the top. That's why I said like after maybe like an hour or two, I come back in here and check on them. And then usually those come to the top, and I can just spritz it, and then it'll be nice and clear. Okay, so we're gonna be working in silhouette. Now the person that's requesting Domino's from me wants the Steelers. So I actually already had this here in my silhouette studio design space, because I've made this one before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this here, and I'm just gonna resize it really quick. Actually, you know what, that might be a good size though, because it was at 2.1, right? So 1 point, no, I'm gonna do 1.9. So I'm gonna unlock this 1.9 and then 9.0. Okay, but I'm gonna show you how to get it like this though. So I usually go into Google, and I type in whatever team that I'm doing. So like this one is the Steelers. So I type in Pittsburgh Steelers football field. And so I let that come up, and then I hit images over here. And then I look for that football field. So you could have used this one. You could use this one. But this is the one that I chose to use. Okay, so what I usually do is I click on it. And then, okay, there we go. Then I right click it. Save image as. And I'm just going to save it to downloads. Come back over here to silhouette. Hit file. Merge. And then bring in the image, okay? And so what I usually do is turn it around. And you want to get this rounded rectangle. So you want to go here where the square is, and then you want to grab that second one. And so just make one really quick, and then size it to what we're going to do. So the width is going to be 0.9, And then the height is going to be 1.9. So that's what we're going to be working with right there. So what I usually do is I keep it red like that so I can see what I'm doing. Take this image, size it down, then I just kind of like bring it over here and let it snap. So let's zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're doing. Okay. And then we're going to bring the sides in. I'm coming in because I want the sides to, I want it to cut where the grass is. I don't want that white. Okay, so there we go. So then down here, we're going to pull it down to where it hits the black, that red line. And then I'm going to back out just a little bit. And so you're going to take your cursor, highlight the whole thing, come over here to where you cut stuff, and then you're going to hit intersect. When you hit intersect, that makes it into the rounded, the roundness that you want. I wonder why, but this one looks different. I don't know. I'm not going to use it though. So we're not going to use that one anymore because I'm using a different mold. So we're going to back out, and then you're going to need 28 of these. So I'm just going to get my page back to where it's supposed to be. Okay. So we're going to do 28 of these. So I usually just duplicate. 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 All right, so that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I want 7 if possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's not gonna make 7. Ugh. Okay. So I guess we can go ahead and space them back out then. All right, so duplicate that. 6 times 4 is 24. I don't think you're gonna get 28 on the page. If I can recall, I don't ever think I got 28 on the page. Yeah, see, so we got 24. So we're gonna print out that page, and then and then do another line. And I always print out one extra just in case I mess one up. So with this, okay, so when you do the picture in the front, you want to use photo paper because it's glossy and it's super clear. So let's go print this out, and then we're going to cut it with your with either your Cricut or your Cameo. Okay, so let's go and print this, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to show you why it is just so much easier to use photo paper instead of printable vinyl. And you don't want to use sticker paper because you're not sticking it to anything. Remember, this is going to be face down. So let's go print this out. Okay, so this is why I say to use the glossy paper, the photo paper, because you see how crisp and clear it is. And you see white up here because what I did was when I printed it, I printed the bleed. Now the paper that I use is HP Everyday. I believe I got this from Walmart. If I'm not, if I don't I swear I got it from Walmart. If I did, wherever I got it from, I'm gonna link it in the description. So you want to go ahead and cut this out with your silhouette or your cameo, and then we'll proceed with the next steps.
When you're doing
once
this part, you want to make
the
sure
epoxy is dry, and you can see a lot of those air bubbles are gone.
Laid down
Give
properly.
or take some over here.
Whatever tool that I'm using.
There's a couple more around here, but I mean, look, these are handmade, okay? So
make sure you're getting those
so we'll proceed with the next step once this is like pretty much almost done drying, and then we'll put in
no epoxy goes underneath the edges, and that's what causes
so now we are back. It is like 6-7 hours.
So you want to make sure that you're pressing it down firmly.
When you so how you know it's ready for
so just make sure you do that, especially around
your
those
actual
edges.
photo cutouts. So these are already cut out with the Cricut. I'm sorry, not a Cricut, a Silhouette. But you see why I say use that paper. Is super shiny. I like it. So if you can touch this and it's tacky and you can see like a fingerprint, that's when it's ready, okay? So you just want to take one and then you want to just place it at the edge. And then since it's tacky, it's going to stick. So you see how I couldn't lift that back up? So now it's uneven. So now I hate that. But I can't bring it back up because it's not going to look right. So it's okay. I mean, these are handmade, whatever. So what I usually do is I take something like a pen or something or a highlighter, and I just go like this just so I can press it in a little bit more so it can stick. And then I do that with every single one. Okay, so after that set for like an hour, I do go in with some more epoxy and I fill it up, not all the way to the top, but just right above the, right below the top line. I do this because I add another picture here at the top, and then I cover that with epoxy. So what I did was, since 170 milliliters filled up almost half of these domino cavities, what I did was I mixed up 120 milliliters of epoxy. Now, even if this is too much, it really doesn't matter to me. I got some cups that I got to spin anyway. So, oh wait, no, it does matter because I'm about to add black in here. Ha, just kidding. Anyways, so my middle layer, even though the bottom is clear, my middle layer, I like to have a color. I don't like it to be just clear or just white. I typically use colors from the logo. So this one is the Pittsburgh Steelers, so we are going to use black. Now I add acrylic paint into my epoxy, and I don't add a lot. So
when you're filling up,
I usually just add like a drop.
Keep in mind, maybe you kind of want them to all be the same amount of epoxy
you don't
going
want it
in,
to be too
because
gummy,
you can't
because
run out. Now,
if
you happen to run out of epoxy, you just take your syringe,
so like I said,
and look at the other cavities and make sure
mix it up.
They all have the same amount of epoxy in it. If not, just remove some out of whichever cavities and then fill up the rest of them. I promise you, you have enough epoxy. You just need to spread it out a little bit more.
That little one drop was
Once you get finished with that, there will be air bubbles at the top. So what I do is I take my
so I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this in,
and I just mist over the top of it, and I'll pop all those bubbles as you'll see here. And then we'll be able to do our
back
next part.
After that sets and do the top. And then we'll add another, you know, whatever picture you want at the top. Or if you want to just leave yours black. If you want to just leave it black, just fill it up to the top. I don't do that. That's why I charge a little bit more for these. So you just add it in. Just do not go to the top, okay? So don't fill it like hecka fast. I really don't care too much about it being like a little transparent, only because, like I said, I put a full picture at the top. So you're not going to be able to see it anyway. But just like when you look at it on the sides, you'll be able to see that there's a little bit of color to it. Okay, so now that these are set and dry, we're going to go ahead and add on our top picture. Or I don't know if you guys don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. That's just something that I do for my orders. You can leave it totally one color if you want to. Just make sure you fill it up to the top. If not, if you decide to go ahead and put a logo at the top or a name or whatever it is, a picture, whatever the case, this is what I'm going to show you how to do that. So usually what I do, just to make sure there is no air bubbles in any of these, I go ahead and take one out the corner, just to be on the safe side. And great, there is no air bubble. You see? And that's what I was meaning about this mold. Like, look how shiny that is. For that mold to just be $9.99, child. So I put it back in. Now, you can do this all you want. If you don't want to, if you want to just finish it and figure it out if it's right at the end, and that's totally up to you. But me personally, I take two. I take one from one side and one from the other side and make sure this stuff is right. So yes, no air bubbles. Okay. All right. So let me put this back in its mold. And then we are going to put in our photos. And so this time, instead of photo paper, this is what I use. I use a brand called Buttercrafts glossy white vinyl sticker sheets. I swear by this. I love this. And it comes out looking like the photo paper. So I'm going to print this out and I'll show you exactly how it looks. And then we're going to put that on the tops and then another layer of epoxy. And then that will be it for our epoxy portion. And then we will flip them over once they're dry. Clean up the edges if they need to be cleaned up. For some reason, I feel like with this mold, I feel like I ain't going to have that issue. But I don't know. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. And then we'll put the dots on. The dots and the lines. Okay, so I have my sticker paper printed out. And you can see this one is glossy also. Like I said, I like this one because it leaves a glossy look and not a matte look. I don't like the matte look. So super easy process. You literally just peel it off and then place it in your domino mold. And you may want to make sure that it's straight. Okay. And you just lay it in there. And then you do each and every domino cavity. And that's why I was saying earlier that it doesn't matter if it's not jet black because you can't see it anyway. But what I will say is this. I took this one out already. So this is what I meant by I like for my bottom portion to be clear. And then you see how in the middle is black. I don't like it to be white because I notice when you look at it like this, you can see a piece of paper in there. So I don't like that. So that's why I choose to have a middle color and then clear at the top. Okay. So I'm going to place this. Oh, Lord. So I'm going to place this in on every single domino. And then we'll put our epoxy on the top and let that cure. And then do our, what is that? The lines and the dots. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do my thing. Okay, you guys, we are ready to demold these. And I am so excited because, like I said, this is a new mold and I feel so good about it. So hopefully I don't have too much that I need to clean up on the edges. Usually you have to do that when you over pour. So like if you can see like right here, you can tell that I over poured by the epoxy hanging over, which is easy to clean up, and I'll show you guys how to clean that up and what kind of tool to use for that. So and like I said, everything will be linked in my description. So let's get to demolding. So oh, I'm so excited. Oh my god, they came out good. Oh, so see, look at, you see how that's right there. But this mold seem a bit easier. Look at that. I could just pick it right off. Usually I have to use a little tool for that, but oh my god, I'm excited. Okay. This is not my first time making dominoes, but it is my first time using this mold. And it doesn't leave no residue in the inside. So, all right, let me demold these. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but there is absolutely no air bubbles in any one of these. And that's why I do it the way that I do it. And so look at this. So my other mold that I was using, I was having to take some oil and like, you know, like put like a little bit of olive oil on it so that way it'll be shiny. I do not have to do that with these. Oh my god, I'm so excited. So let me clear all this stuff off, all the little extra edge pieces, and then I'll show you what kind of tool you might need. You see, these just coming right off. I don't even need the tool, baby. Ha. Oh man, this is from Amazon, $9.99. Oh, I mean, I'm not knocking nobody because if people are hand making these molds, then I mean, I see why they charge what they charge. But like, I couldn't find the girl that I had bought my molds from before. And I don't know, but so I just decided to, you know, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I've been buying stuff off of Amazon. I've only had one bad situation I was in with something from Amazon, and it was those clack fans. Whoo, that is not the place to buy them. I do not suggest buying clack fans from there. So this is one I'll use for an example on what tool to use because that's not coming off. So these other little pieces are coming right off. Oh my god. So let me get all these little pieces off. And then we're going to be good to go. So that one, I'm going to have to do this one. Definitely this one, because this is a little too hard. I'm going to have to clean that one up. Not this one. I hate when I over pour. Like, seriously. I be trying not to, but sometimes it's just like, it happens. Especially when, and you know what you need to keep in mind also? When you're using the, when you're using alcohol to spritz it, keep in mind that adds more ounces of any type of like liquid in the mold. So even though you might be pouring, you know, 5 milliliters inside of one, it might turn into 5.2 milliliters after you spritz with the alcohol to pop the bubbles. So just keep that in mind, that maybe not go all the way to the tip top until, you know, you spray that that little bit of alcohol on there. So if that makes sense, hopefully that made sense. So we are almost done with this part. Okay, so now if you have some pieces that look like this, where you see that little bit of epoxy right there. So you can use this. I forgot what this is called, but I got it from a hardware store. I got it from Lowe's. I'm not sure if Lowe's is in your area. Could be Home Depot or whatever they're called in your area. But this is what it looks like. I forgot what it's called, though. I got to look it up, and then you'll see it in my description. But you literally just, you know, take the sharp edge and go like this. And it'll take that epoxy right off. I try to like shave mines down, because I've noticed in the past, if I did it a little bit too quick and too deep, it'll go into the actual, you know, top layer of the domino, and I don't want that. So I've learned to be patient and just shave it off. And that gives me the best results. Instead of trying to do it all fast and act like I ain't got no sense, this is the best way to do it. And so you can do that on that, like, see this corner right here where it's like a little bit of epoxy sticking out? I'll just go like this. And then kind of like round it a little bit if I can. Yep, and then there's that. And if I feel anything on the edges that feels like it's like ridges or a little bit too rough, I just go in there and get it off with this. Okay, and then it feels like super smooth after that. So that is that. And you can always take a fine grit of sandpaper if you need to, just to brush up those edges. And because sometimes they do get a little bit rough when you happen to over pour. That's why I said I hate when I over pour. I freaking hate it, because then I have to go back in and clean up my mess. And I don't like to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, and then we'll do the dots, and then we'll be done with these. So this usually takes me about 2 to 3 days to finish. Okay, I don't know why I forgot I was recording the rest of this video, but I did. But anyways, so you can find these little things for the dots and the lines. They have some at Michael's. And I got these smaller ones online. The ones from Michael's are a little bit bigger, and I just felt like I was wasting them. But I will link both of them in my description. So it's pretty simple. They have like a little tip here. So I use acrylic paint. So I usually just take this and I pour it in here, and then I start doing my lines and my dots. So I just fill up the little holes. And then do the line. I like these because the tip fits right in there. And so sometimes you'll get like a little bit over where it looks a little messy. I just usually take my finger and just wipe it off like that. And then there you have it. I got a perfect domino. So you want to do that with every single one of these. Okay, so this is the final. Oh no. Oh. I had some clots in my ink, so great. Anyways, this is the final. We are all finished. These are how the dominoes look. And I love them. I love this mold. I hope this helps someone that actually wants to get into making dominoes, because honestly, they are really good gifts for people, especially when you get them customized. It's summertime, so you know people are going to be having their barbecues and they want their dominoes and they want to bring out some custom dominoes to show off. So I personally charge $50 for these. I used to charge $60. I went down $10 because I do them. I don't know. I do them way better than what I used to. So I kind of went down on my price. I feel like 60 was a little too steep. So I went down to 50. So these right here are 50. My regular ones that don't have the field on the front, those are 40. Yeah, the regular ones are just 40. So you can always head over to my website and order some if you want. But that is it for this tutorial today. I'm very excited about this. If you guys have any questions, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and you will have more tutorials. All right, you guys. Bye.